when it comes time to schedule the appointment, drop off the car, get a rental car, get a ride, whatever it is. And then on top of that, now people have to be concerned how their mechanics are being paid, and then maybe making that determination of should they seek that type of mechanic in the future or not. And today, what we're talking about is your mechanic flat rate versus hourly? And is there really a benefit to one versus the other? Now, if you're actually a mechanic, it would probably be better if you are hourly versus, if it's better if you're flat rate and your shop is busy, I should say. And then if the shop is kind of moderate to slow, then it's better for hourly. It really depends on how busy the shop is. The more busy it is, of course, you would want to be flat rate because you're kind of paid per job versus paid by the hour. You know, if you're a really busy shop, you're trying to bang out the cars. And if you get through a lot of cars, it's a lot of money for the shop. However, you're not really getting compensated by the increased volume. That's why some people like flat rate. So it really depends on where you are as far as the workers. But the way that we're really going to look at this today is from the perspective of the customer taking their car in. And here you'll see a lot of things like this with, let's say, hourly mechanics, where they're more likely to help each other out to do a job correctly, make sure if they do something like a radiator replacement, or if they need to change out the headlight housing and they're going to put the bumper back on, or maybe even they're doing the crankshaft bolt and they remove the bumper to get better access so they're not leaning on the bumper, you'll have the other team members there or the other mechanics there help out put the bumper on, which could be a one-person task. But if you want to make sure that there's no scratches on the paint, if they did PPF or anything like that, then you will want a second set of hands to manage the other side since it is a longer piece. However, some people will prefer the flat rate system where you're paid per job. And that's going to be more of everyone's kind of doing their own thing, because you're not going to get paid for helping out your other team members. You're only going to get paid for the jobs that you complete. Usually, some shops may differ in their payment structure, but generally it's the jobs that you complete that you are compensated for. So everyone's kind of doing their own individual thing here. Now, that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on your situation, right? If your car's a little beat up, maybe it's a daily, and you don't care if you get a couple extra dings or scratches that aren't major, but you really need a quick turnaround for your car, then yeah, flat rate is going to be pretty good because they're not going to take their time with your car. They're just going to bang it out really quick, and you'll have your car, by the next day or so, depending on if they need to ship parts to the shop or not. Versus if somebody's hourly, you have a little bit more peace of mind knowing that they're going to take their time with your car. However, they're taking their time with your car. So it really depends, I would say, on the culture of the shop. Always look at the reviews like on Yelp and things like that. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up today is because, when we get our car back, we want something like this. If wherever they were working, right, we want a clean engine bay. We don't want to have to take the car back because something as simple as an oil filter is leaking because they're flat rate and they decided to do it really quick. But then again, we don't want them to take 3 days to do an oil change, right? Regardless if there's a leak or not. So there is a balancing act that we have to play here in terms of what we want out of our mechanics, right? We want them to be properly compensated so that they will do a good job, but also not compensated purely on time because then they'll take forever, right? This is a good thing about shops that are well established. If you ask them for a job, let's say, like an oil change, then maybe they'll quote you like an hour. If something happens, unforeseen happens, maybe it's due to the oil pan, the drain bolt getting stripped or something like that while they were doing it, they're not going to charge you for that, right? Um, they already know exactly how many hours it takes to do the job, and they're just going to bill you that for whatever it is. If anything unforeseen happens with the car that is, outside of their control, maybe they saw that there was something wrong with the car, they'll let you know. And then if you decide to have that work done, then that will be the additional charge. But I think that's something that we all typically fear with mechanics is if I take the car in, they're going to tell me that it's not just my brakes. I need tires, I need wheels, I need new suspension. But again, that goes back to going to a trusted mechanic who will not gouge the price or run the price up on you. And I think the reason why this came up today is because the video that I had for the wheel stud conversion. I get a lot of comments on this video as well as the short version of it. And then even a video that I put out recently on torquing the suspension. Like if you do a KW suspension upgrade, what are all the torque specs? And a lot of people will say like, this guy, he's never been flat rate. This is what you do when you're paid hourly. I mean, it's kind of like a compliment because they think that I'm a professional and they think that this setup that I have here, which I feel is like clearly like my personal garage, not a professional garage, they feel is up to a professional standard. For whatever reason, they think that it's professional. So I guess most of my videos I feel like are catered towards like helping people do these things themselves. And if you're going to take the time to do it yourself, I feel like you should do it right. Yeah, like we're not going to get paid hourly, but if you're going to do the job yourself, do it once and do it right. If you take extra time on your car, it's fine. It's your car. It's like if you wash your car, you're not going to wash anybody else's car the way that you would wash your car. So whatever mechanical work that you do on your car, it's the same thing. Whatever work that you do on your car, it's going to be leaps and bounds above what you would do for anyone else, generally speaking. At the very least, it's going to be a step up. So yes, I do recommend going the extra mile when you're doing your own work on your own car on your own time. I'm not saying like this is what every professional needs to do. I mean, if they feel that it's more efficient to just, go in there with like a little nylon brush like this and do a little bit of brake clean, I still think that they should clean out the threads. That's my personal opinion. I'm not a professional mechanic. Again, I don't own a shop, so I don't know how much time that really takes off the floor. And again, it really depends on how busy the shop is. If they're not all that busy, then it wouldn't hurt them to do this extra thing here. Because when you're doing it yourself, if say one of the studs come off or whatever, you take all the liability and risk in your own hands. If something like that happens to a customer's car, you're liable. It's your fault. You did it. No matter if you did 1,000 of them before, that one time that it goes bad because you didn't do the prep steps may be the difference between a profit for the month or maybe even losing your business, depending on how well your business is doing. So to me, taking the extra 5 minutes to do something like this to save you from that type of liability, in my opinion, is worth it. Maybe you don't want to go in there with a thread chaser and all that, but again, that is up to, the shop owner and the mechanics there. And this goes nicely with, I think some people in this video, if you're really unsure, I go in there with a thread chaser, and a lot of people say I'm going to strip out the threads and things like that. So if anybody is looking to do the conversion, just know that you're using a thread chaser to clean the threads and not a tap. A lot of people in the comments, I think that there are a lot of them are keyboard warriors because I clearly say a thread chaser. The difference between a tap and a thread chaser is a tap, which is the taller one on the right, will cut new threads. A thread chaser, which is on the left, the edges, I mean, it might not be as evident when you see it like here, but like the edges on the thread chaser are more rounded. they'll still fit. Like if these are designed for the same threads, they will both still fit. However, you can kind of see it's tapered at the top here. Well, this one has more of like a symmetrical shape to it. This helps, or this design over here, and even like the edges here help the tap cut threads into the hole of the existing metal. Whereas this, because it's more rounded, it doesn't have that sharp point to it. It's not designed to cut. And if you use it for the appropriate threads, the appropriate existing threads, it should not cut. In the video too, I know that some people will use like power tools with this, but I just recommend, if you're going to do this for your wheels, that you will want to just do it by hand. Don't use power tools. It's also a good way to check your threads. Like if you're using a power tool with this, you might just run it through, and if your threads are damaged, you might not notice depending on what power setting you have. But if you're running it in by hand, you're going to feel, a tight spot in there. And then maybe you can just work it in a little bit, put a little bit more degreaser, brake clean, whatever it is in there. And then if it's just like a clump of dirt in there, or, maybe some hardened like lube or whatever, or road debris, whatever it is, you can knock it out. But if it doesn't go away, you know that you have some damaged threads, and that's a good indicator to you that you need to address that, right? And so that when you put your bolt in, depending on how far it is, maybe you get a shorter bolt for the time being until you can get, someone in there, if you're unfamiliar with how to do this, to properly fix the threads on that. So, if you want, there is also a great article that I have over here that kind of goes over the differences between a tap and a die, like, a tap and a chaser. So don't worry if you decide to use a chaser when you're doing something like a wheel stud conversion, because the threads are not designed like these threads here are not designed to cut. They're just designed to kind of like clean. And that's also why I recommend a nylon brush and not a metal one, because you're going in a perpendicular direction when you're cleaning those, versus this one, it's in alignment with it. It's essentially parallel. To put that into a better analogy, if some of you are unfamiliar with cutting threads or chasing threads, it would be very similar if somebody said that like Flank Drive Plus, which is the top one here, is the same as the regular Flank Drive for Snap-on. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Snap-on, it's just like these serrations here and kind of the grooves. Like, see how this is kind of slightly wavy versus the straight edge here on this wrench here on the bottom. So this is called Flank Drive from Snap-on, and this is called Flank Drive Plus from Snap-on. But each brand typically has their own. Like, they have the regular wrenches, and they have like one that's meant to grab a little bit better. It may also damage the fastener. However, if your fastener is seized on, rusted on, it's very difficult to get out. And you probably know that when you remove this, you're not going to reuse that bolt. So you have another one ready. You would use this. The differences between these two wrenches is very similar to a chaser and a tap. Very much so how a bolt remover for like when you round off a bolt, or if a bolt is rounded when you're trying to do your job, is very different from a typical socket. They will both remove the bolt. One will make the bolt head reusable at the end. The other one will not. Same thing here. One will make it reusable. One may not. Very much the same thing here. So if you're in those comment sections, don't be dissuaded. Chaser is very different from a tap. So that's something that I wanted to address, since this was kind of the inspiration of today's topic. And actually, before we get to that, we'll jump right over here to some of the comments here. I know that some of you have asked me for like advice for how to start a YouTube channel and things like that. And I hope that, you know, some of the things that we've gone over has inspired you to start making some videos, some content, regardless of how far it takes you. I think it'll still be good, at least from a communications aspect, because we're moving into so much of a digital world. It's good that you get some practice reps with a camera, good at enunciating your words with a microphone. Because with people, generally, you don't have the issue of like the mic will blow out your voice. So knowing how to dial in the settings, all of that stuff is very good still. But the one thing, if you do really decide to start a YouTube channel, is you're going to have to deal with comments from people who, you know, frankly have no idea what they're talking about, right? They live on the internet to poke holes at everybody's fortune because, in my opinion, I think that they're just jealous. You know, we have this comment right here, or two comments actually. You know, this guy is actually pretty nice. Like if we open it up, we had a pretty good conversation here. You know, he says that I've never been flat rate, which is true. And then the other person down here, you know, says that I'm not a tech. Again, that's true. And then he says that torque specs are for people who don't know what they're doing. Only thing that gets torqued are head bolts and cam bolts, right? And then this is in reference to all of the torque specs for if you decide to change the suspension, or if you decide to upgrade your coilovers for front and rear, what are all the torque specs? This is essentially what this video is. So this guy is saying that, you know, I'm an amateur, which I mean, I guess like compared to a professional, I definitely am. However, it doesn't instill much confidence for me. Like, I doubt this person would tell me, if they really are a mechanic, what shop they work at. Because if you're a professional and you tell me that you don't torque down the bolts, that you just ugga-dugga all your way through, I bet you would lose some potential clients. I bet you if he was so confident in that he's such a professional, and maybe even the owner of the shop, if they all share that same sentiment, then why don't you make it your catchphrase or your slogan for your business? We're so professional, we don't need torque wrenches. We're so professional, we don't need any measuring or precision instruments. We have so much experience that we don't need it. And if that's the case, my other question would be, is when a new tech comes into the shop, how do you train them? If none of the senior staff has precision instruments to measure how tight something is, how do they train the new people? Right? So again, it's a lot of talk, a lot of nonsense. My opinion is pretty much what I said right here, is regardless of the pay rate, flat rate, hourly, whatever it is, they should torque it to spec, because there's no way that some random guy on YouTube who's not a professional mechanic, not just speaking of myself, but there are a lot of people out in this space who kind of have a similar background to me. Like, they're not professionals, but they make automotive content. There's no reason why any of us should be showing up a professional. People pay you good money to make sure that their car runs good and reliably for many years to come, or at least until the next service interval, right? We have more of the same thing over here, where we have people telling me, you know, this is what you do when you're an hourly lube tech. And then just so that I can give a little bit more insight as far as, you know, addressing some of the negative comments or the deterring comments that you might face. Some people tell me to change my tires. And, you know, that's great. I think a lot of comments like this is kind of what drove this video to have, like, I think over 2 million views. When you're making content, don't let comments like this dissuade you. The situation that you have with your car that makes it easy to make content, let it be easy to make content. I was very aware that my tires were bald, that I had the cord showing. So I shelved the car in the garage. My studs happened to come in, but my tires from America's Tire at the time, they weren't at the shop that was close to my house. So I was waiting for a few days while my car was shelved with, the studs. And my car's already parked in the garage. My lights are already pretty much set up versus having to wait a few days longer to make the video, do all the thing with America's Tire, if the tires even come to the shop on time, versus banging out a quick 1-minute video while, yes, my tires are bald. But again, it takes the wheel studs off of my shelf. It reduces one of the things that I have to do as far as content creation, and my car's already properly positioned, right? Don't fall into the trap of everything's got to be perfect before I make the video. No, I don't think that this video would have done as well had my tires been, the new ones. So, just to show you guys, like, I'm not perfect. Not everything is great on this side, but it's worth it, right? These people here, they might have a couple of hundred of subs, like maybe they lucked into one video or maybe they made 5 videos, but somebody who's been doing this for a long time, and if this is something that you want to do, I encourage you, just do it. Forget whatever these people are saying. If you're hourly, and you're doing this, or if you're flat rate and you're doing this, or even if you have no experience and you're doing this, I encourage you just to do it. The negative comments, yes, they suck, but it will only, in a weird way, make your videos better because they're creating some type of engagement. And as long as you're learning and improving your craft, you're on the right track. So don't let this stuff dissuade you. Don't let somebody say that you're not a professional. Just, if you're not, it's fine, but do the best that you can to service your clients, in this case, the viewers. That's exactly how I feel about the professionals. It doesn't matter if you're flat rate or if you're hourly or if you're even salary. Do the best that you can. And so I'm actually curious how many of you feel that, you don't really need to torque the stuff down, that you can just, ugga dugga, until your heart's content, and it's fine. Personally, that's not the approach that I would take. For any of you who've seen the videos as of, I guess, since ever, know that that's not really what I would like to promote. I want to, of course, doing anything or trying to mimic anything that I do in the videos is, at your own risk. However, I like to minimize that risk as much as possible. Try to provide you with as much information to make sure that your car operates safely and smoothly for as long as you want to keep it, right? I'm not in this to, make money or get famous at your expense. Honestly, it's kind of a headache to have those things, but if I were to have those things, I would want them because I have done something right. And I think the thing that really bothers me about this is people are working on our cars, right? Our cars are probably worth like if you have a nice BMW, maybe $100,000. Most of these people in the comment section are maybe working at most $100,000 car, maybe a couple $100,000 every once in a while. Most of the time, probably anywhere from like $10,000 to 80, probably, right? So that's kind of like what they're dealing with, and they're getting paid a pretty good rate. And this is not, for me, like at my work, like, right, I do a lot of financial planning, and by no means like it's more, but in my industry, like I'm small fish, right? So I manage a lot of accounts that are like 6-digit accounts. every once in a while I'll get a 7-digit account. And I doubt any of the cars that these people are working on is equivalent to, I would say, most of the accounts that I deal with. And, in my office, we have a saying. We say that the mission comes before the commission because I myself here am commission based. So I would never rob somebody of their retirement funds. I would never rob somebody of their personal savings. And I'm dealing with money on that type of scale. So for somebody to come on here and say that, oh, my time is worth so much, and they're working on a car that's, not as expensive as the accounts that I do, they're also not being considerate of the type of person that they're working with. Think about it. Like, the person has that type of car. Guess what? They might not have a lot of money if that part breaks again. They might not have a lot of money in general, right? Like, you're really taking advantage of them. You're like really taking advantage of somebody who might not be able to afford to take the car back in. And to me, like, you don't deserve to be professional. You don't deserve to say, I'm a professional mechanic. I'm so good. But yet, I make money at other people's expense. I would say, like, you really need to reevaluate your priorities. I'll end it on this before we open it for the Q&A. I had a friend once who said, he wanted, back when I was in college, I wanted to become a trauma surgeon. It didn't exactly work out. And I had a friend who wanted to be a nurse. And I think he started out in business, like, oh, why'd you switch? And he's all like, oh, well, I like the 3-day work week and they make a lot of money. And I was like, okay, like, you're going to be dealing with people who are probably going to be sick. Like, don't you care about them at all? It's like, nah, like, I just want to make the money. I was like, yeah, you should probably not do that. I told him straight up, like, he's my friend, but I told him, I was like, yeah, this isn't for you. Right? One, you're going to burn out. Like, on a personal level, you're going to burn out. You're not going to like it. And eventually you'll quit. It'll show in your work. But it's not like something where it's like you're flipping burgers at Burger King or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, you burn somebody's burger or you undercooked the burger. And like, yes, they could get sick, but hopefully the person catches it and you just make another one. If you're lackadaisical with your job as a nurse and you under or over medicate somebody, if you don't pay attention to the time that they need to take their medication, if you don't pay attention to them in general, then that's that person's life. Car, if you don't torque the wheels down, maybe your power tool didn't have full battery. And so when you ugga-dugged it, sure, you probably did it for the same amount of time as you normally do. However, maybe the battery was a little bit low and maybe it's under torqued. Wheel comes off. Person gets into an accident. Again, most of the people that I feel that these people are addressing in the comment section are people who don't have a lot of money. And then that person gets into an accident. There's a medical bill. They can't work. Potentially have to pay for somebody else's medical bill. Like, did you really think about this? Was it worth it for you to, if you're flat rate, take one more job? To me, the answer is no. And I feel like you have a responsibility as the professional to take these things into consideration. But feel free. Like I said, I'm not perfect. So, let me know, like, am I on a high horse here? Am I holding them to an impossible standard? Is there something that I'm not fully taking consideration of when I'm making this evaluation? I'm open to it. But I have one of my good buddies over here, Soul Slinger, who is a professional, not just a car mechanic, a boat mechanic. He's done all of the things. So let's see here. What's up, brother? I've worked both flat rate and flag hours. There's pros and cons for both. Yeah, I feel that, like, as far as the worker, there definitely is. I've seen the work that you do. I don't question anything that you do, man. I don't think that you would post anything like that either. Like I said, if you feel that there's something that I said that's like, out of bounds, or if I just simply overlooked an aspect of it, like I said, is I don't expect anybody to go over the top for anybody else's car, no matter how much you're getting paid for it, above your own car. But just make sure that it's safe. Make sure that there's some type of standard there. And that's why I feel like people should use torque wrenches. Like there is at least that's a standard, right? Let's see here. Some people just need their car fixed so they can get to work. I've done brake jobs for $20, and there's been times I've fixed people's cars for free because I knew they couldn't afford a shop. See, I mean, this is my guy. I don't know what to say, man. I mean, I wish a lot of people had your approach. And just like, yeah, I understand you got to put food on the table. How good would you feel if you knew that, like your workmanship cost somebody else's ability to put food on their table? I do really wish that some people would like consider some of your work ethic, consider the other customers' time and everything. But yeah, I mean, I guess we can only do what we can. We can only make improvements in our own little world. So I hope that that's what we're doing here in our own group here. I hope you had a good weekend, man. I know that we've been both of us have actually not been able to link up yet. I actually got ahead of some work this week, so I'm hoping this weekend we can get started on that group chat, which is kind of a good thing. My Facebook account actually got hacked into, so I use a lot of that stuff for like the business aspect of things, as well as just kind of like chiming in every once in a while to like BMW groups, wherever I think I can help. So I lost that. So I guess hopefully I'll need something to fill the void. And I think the Discord will be a little bit more specific. I think it'll be more communal, more people who want to help each other, to see each other do well. And so I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. I think I had some other things up here as well. Oh no, that was it. Yeah, it was. I think another thing that also kind of inspired today's topic was my nephew just bought his first car. He bought an Audi. I don't know anything about Audis, by the way. And he bought it, and it was just like the under panel just wasn't fully secured. So like one nut wasn't fully secured. So I just went in there and I was like, oh, okay, I'll fix it. And I said, you know what, while you're here at the house, let me take a look at it. Valve cover was like leaking. There was like kind of oil from the oil filter, just kind of running all over the place. The shock was leaking. So I was like, you might want to take this back to the dealership and tell them to like fix this stuff. And they're going to fix the valve cover. And they were like, oh, the shock, like there's not fluid coming out, but there is a leak. And I was like, so say that one more time. Like there's no fluid coming out, but there's a leak. What's leaking if no fluid is coming out? And they were like, oh, well, I mean, it's not major. It's still drivable. I was like, yeah, like, of course it's still drivable, but if there's a leak, like, you never know when it's going to go. Like, I thought you guys buying it from the dealership would do like so many inspection checks. And they're like, oh, well, we must have missed a few. And I was like, oh, yeah, like valve cover, it's like right there in your face. And like the shock, it's like, don't you check the suspension? So that was a little bit aggravating because I had to go to the dealership with him back to the dealership, but it's good that they're at least going to cover the valve cover. So I told them, I was like, if they really don't want to repair the shock, the fact that they didn't disclose it to you, you should just raise an issue about that. And then if you can just find a used shock approximately the same mileage as your car on eBay, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than what you have. And yes, you should replace them at all the time, but he's just starting college. He just needs a car to get him from like his place to the campus, and this will be fine. I told him, I was like, I'll replace the shock for you. Just ask him for an alignment. So it's been nuts. I did 48 hours in 4 days. Ooh, jeez. And then worked here at home and on the boat. Oh my goodness, man. All that you need is an airplane, man. Land, sea, air. Oh my goodness. 12-hour days, and then you go right back at it. I don't know, man. You're like the marathon man over here. Jeez. I mean, when you get a vacation, man, you deserve it. And you deserve to take that, with whoever you want, or I mean, you might even want to take it by yourself just to have some time for yourself. But man, dude, you work hard. I mean, you deserve, a break whenever you decide to take one. Elliot, Fritz, I learned that my car is covered by a SULEV warranty. Right on. 15 years, 150K. Yes. Good to hear. Good to hear. What's the best way to use this warranty? Should I take the car in before something breaks and ask them to do some preventive maintenance? I don't think it covers preventive maintenance. It just covers it when it breaks. So if I'm not mistaken, they might charge you like the inspection fee. What you could also do is, like, if you have your own regular mechanic, you could take it to them, and if they find something that's covered underneath the warranty, you can just go straight to the dealership or whatever and tell them, like, hey, this thing is broke. This is what my mechanic said. They may try to charge you the inspection fee, but if the thing is actually broke, say like your wastegate is broke, they're probably just going to replace your turbo. And then while they're doing the billing, they're probably just going to bill the inspection hours to I guess they bill it to the federal program, I suppose. So they should refund you the money. At least that was the case with my friend. Exact scenario. Wastegate was bad. They didn't want to replace just the wastegate, so they gave him a new turbo. They did charge him the inspection fee. And then once they went through the SULEV program, they refunded his money. But it was like a couple months after. Will dealers do that, or are they required to wait for something to break? Well, I don't think that they'll replace it. Like if you say, like, I want to replace this before it goes bad, they're not going to do that. It's going to go bad before they replace it through the SULEV program. You might have a couple people there who don't know about the program. Like the first person that greets you at the door and, tries to process your claim, they might not know about the SULEV. My buddy, he had to escalate it to 2 managers. So he went to, I guess, whoever was like the floor person or whatever, and then he went to like the store manager or something like that. And the store manager was like, yeah, that's actually a thing. Like we have to go through this process to for this type of claim for this type of car. But otherwise, they would have charged them. To a certain extent, I feel that the F chassis are like the 2nd generation to do it now, and some of the G chassis now are going to be the 3rd generation to do it, if I'm not mistaken. There should be no excuse why it's not within the training. I feel like it might be intentional that they do this, where they'll charge you to do the job, and then on the back end, they'll charge the federal program, and they'll get double paid for the same job. So fight for it. The store manager, it seems like, should know. I mean, I don't know why they would be a store manager if they didn't know about this. So I hope whatever you need to get done on your car, you can. And I'm also curious, I mean, feel free to like let me know whenever you do go through this, because I only have one data point, which is my friend. I mean, I guess Key over at Keys Motorsports also went through something similar, but I don't know him personally. So as far as like people that I know personally who have done this, I only have one data point to reference and to share with people. So if you do go through this, I would love to know your experience. Brian, what was your first car? It was a 1996 328 IS, so an E36. Oh my goodness, it was so long ago. I think it was just like my sister had it. And then, she had a family, and then she just stopped driving it for a while. But basically, like, the car wasn't running for a while. It just, like, it needed a new battery, plugs, fluids, all the things. And then just after that, had it for a while. And then I wasn't all that into cars, so I didn't realize that my one of my bushings was like pretty much like rotted off. And on my way to school, I was just like exiting, and then my car just kept like veering to the right. And I was like, I've got no real input here, or like minimal input, or like pull to one side, and no real control on the other, I guess is the best way to put it. And then it was a good thing that there was no real traffic that day. I just hit the center divide, or like the cinder block wall. And that was it. Sad day, but yeah, I guess if you're gonna crash, it's like one of like the safest ways to crash, I guess. Nezzy, how's it going? Welcome in. Elliot, how many miles okay, Elliot, Soul Singer's on the case, man. You got the best of the best there with you. Everything Jailbreak Pro. Fritz, I'm looking to buy a blue F30, 111,000 miles, but the car is from Texas and is a flood car, but I'm looking at paying about $6,000. I mean, if you're buying it from like, there's this place that I bought my car from, salvage. It's called Auto Savvy. They specialize in salvage cars, and they do like whatever was wrong with it, whatever caused the salvage damage, they really gonna go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and they give you a warranty, 3 months, or like up to 100,000. If you're already at 100,000, I think they give you the 3 months. If you're not at 100,000, they give you up to the 100,000. So I would say it's hard to, like, if you're trying to ship it, I'd say like you're really like, you gotta lay hands on this if there's no warranty attached, because you really don't know, right? The thing is, like, when it comes to like buying and selling cars, to a certain extent, you're protected by the Lemon Law, but it doesn't really apply if the seller discloses everything. Like if the seller says, it's flooded, XYZ is bad, and then you get it and it's slightly worse than what it is, the person arbitrating the case is going to be like, well, they told you it was flood damage, right? Versus if they say, in your case, right, let's just say they said, oh, look, the car's in immaculate condition, never been in an accident, nothing ever wrong, no issues, all the services done, garage kept. If they say all of that, and then you get a car that's flood damaged, then you're protected by the Lemon Law, because it's like a complete 180. So I would say just be really cautious. Do whatever you can to like inspect the car before making the purchase. Personally, if it were me, if I can't get in the car and this is the condition, no warranty, even at $6,000, I would probably pass. But if you can get in it and everything works, the good thing with electrical issues is if you get in the car and if everything runs, you flip all the buttons, you turn all the dials, you test all the electronic modules and all the things. If there's flood damage, it'll go bad like right away. You should know right away. But without doing that, it's hard to say. If you can't do that before purchasing it, then I might pass. Elliot, my car seems to be burning oil, which worries me. Would it be best to take it to my mechanic first or straight to the dealer? You could take it to your mechanic. If you're burning oil, I mean, there's so many reasons that you could be burning oil. Let's see what Soul Slinger says first before I put my unprofessional 2 cents in. So if you drive 40 miles a day, 365 a year, that's just under 11 years. Since you won't be driving it literally that much, your warranty should almost cover the entire next 15 years. Yeah, sounds about right. And you're at 83 now. You're at 83 now. Okay, this kind of like gets right to what I was leading towards. It wouldn't kill you, and it's not the most expensive thing to do a coolant flush. So if you take it to your mechanic for them to inspect, just ask them to flush the cooling system and to, put in fresh coolant. Two things, it could be like you have old coolant, so it's not working as efficiently. Two is maybe you don't have it, like it might be within range, but the degradation of the coolant and the lower than like on the lower spectrum of normal of coolant level might cause you to burn oil because it's not cooling efficiently. There's also a chance that just over time, maybe there's a little air in the system, and that could cause the issue as far as with the coolant. So, when you take it in to your mechanic, just I would suggest coolant flush. Maybe Soul Slinger, you could touch on this point or correct me if I'm wrong, and then see how that helps, if it helps. If they do the coolant, you might as well just do an oil change. Fresh oil, fresh coolant, see how that goes. Soul Slinger would take it to the dealership and ask them about oil consumption and what the average amount is per oil change, how much it will burn as opposed to how much it actually does. That's a good point too. That's very smart. 10 years old. So best case, I've got 5 years left. Okay. Well, 5 years is still fine. Like it, hopefully nothing happens. The biggest thing is going to be the timing chain, or a timing chain guide, I should say. But emissions related, you should feel pretty confident. I don't even think they really check like the service record. So it's not like, oh, you didn't take your car to get an oil change at like every 5,000 miles or 3,000 miles, whatever they recommend. We're not going to warranty it. No, they'll warranty it. My buddy doesn't necessarily keep all the records of his, and he said that they didn't ask. And that's in Fremont, if I'm not mistaken, the Fremont BMW dealership. So if you're around that area, maybe you'll want to check them out. Pilar, do you use any additive for your car's engine? I do not. The liquid moly, the Molygen, they recommend to not use any additives with the oil. I know with some of their other ones you can. I haven't really had an issue with my engine to kind of nudge me in the direction of using an additive, so I just haven't yet. Nezzy, I own a 2006 Mini Cooper S. EML light is on and it's idling funny and shuts off. Been looking at YouTube videos and someone said they replaced their inlet manifold. Is this the intake manifold? I mean, I would assume so. Yeah, I mean, I would assume that's what I mean, I don't know. I don't have the article in front of me or what the person is like referencing, if they had pictures or, but just going off of the wording of it, that's probably what they mean. Bill, where can I find BMW service manuals? I can't find anything online. 2016 BMW M235i especially. You're not going to like this answer. You're going to have to just put it in like a Google search. It'll probably take you to forums, and you're probably just going to have to download the PDF on forums. Unless you're willing to go for like the paid services that provide the manuals. That's like the free option. Yeah. Some of my stuff is like that. A good one is you go to Turner Motorsports, and some of their stuff, they include the instruction manuals, which includes torque specs. So although it's like usually includes the torque specs when you upgrade to their parts, a lot of the stuff will be the same if you do it for like OEM, right? Like, so like if you install an upgraded sway bar, their instruction manuals will include the torque specs for the subframe, the order to torque the subframe bolts, as well as like things for like your end links and I think that's all that you have to disconnect there. Oh, and like the steering rack, and there's one more. There's like a few things that you have to disconnect, but they'll give you all the torque specs for that. So like just imagine like what area you're going to be working in, and you could go to Turner. So like if you were to do like not necessarily a sway bar end link, but maybe you wanted to change out your suspension and you needed the torque specs for the end links, then that would be something that you want to go towards. So you could look up Turner as well, but as far as having everything organized in one place, you would have to pay. Everything Jailbreak Pro. I daily at M340i, but I'm looking for a new daily to completely destroy its value. The new drive would be 30 miles back and forth. What BMW would you suggest, or should I just get a Honda? I mean, it really depends on your income. I mean, I feel like one of like the best dailies is something that's like a Sulev. Like if you just want something that's like, you don't need it to be spec'd out really hard. You want something reliable that will last and is relatively cheap. Like a Sulev car, like an N26, a B46, if I'm not mistaken, will be fine, because if anything goes wrong, like you can just replace it, and it should be mostly free of charge. So that's usually what I recommend for somebody. When somebody asks me like, I want a low cost, relatively low maintenance, good gas mileage commuter car, that's usually what I recommend. Otherwise, then you do go with like a Honda or a Toyota. Elliot, I think you might be right. The oil burning seems to have started when the weather got warmer. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I might not be right. I mean, Soul Slinger's the professional in the, in this whole thing. I'll be honest. I'm just giving you kind of anecdotal advice. Like kind of like, if I were having these issues on my car, the troubleshooting pathway that I would go. And that's mostly just based off of my personal experience with like my cars at any one singular time. Like I'm not a professional mechanic that has seen like, 10 cars, and then based off of your diagnosis said, okay, mostly it aligns with, with these cars, and the issue was this. So I hope what I'm suggesting works out. And if it does, or even if it doesn't, and you find out what it is, please share. I'm always open to learning and figuring things out. Worst case scenario is I'm completely wrong. You come back, tell me that I'm wrong. Hopefully you'll be able to kind of tell me like what exactly I was wrong about, how I could have fixed my identifying pointers. And then if somebody has the same issue as you, hopefully they'll learn from that. Soul Slinger, some vehicles have an average amount of oil they will burn per oil change. There are Dodges that will burn 1 quart per, oh my goodness, that's a lot. Yeah, my old M3, my E36 M3 burned oil, but that was normal. And I think even if you go up in weight, it'll still burn. It just kind of the way things go. It's between 600 to 1,000 miles. Oh, okay, that's... See, and this is what I like too. I like to see how Elliot and Soul Slinger are kind of going back and forth. This is what I like, us building community. And I've admitted a bunch of times, like I'm not the most knowledgeable person, even in, this live stream. And I would never want to be. I would like to have, to build community, to have all of you get to know each other and share ideas and help each other. Just because I'm only one person, but with all of us together, we're going to be able to help, all of us are going to be able to help each other, hopefully. So I'm glad that you guys are doing that. That's awesome. Bill, okay, thank you very much. I'll look up Turner's. I follow your videos, but also would like to have a manual on hand as well for reading reference. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I would say just normally like whatever it is, just type it into Google. It'll probably take you to some kind of forum thread where they have the PDF for that. The good thing is that some of these places they'll post the entire um, PDF. So what you could end up with is like maybe it'll be everything for the front axle and then everything completely for the rear axle, right? So you might get more than what you bargained for, which is a good thing. The only thing is that it won't necessarily, like when you open up the PDF, it won't take you like right exactly to where you want to go. However, if you go to Turner's with Turner's instructions, it will. So I hope that that helps. If I do find something like that, I'll let you know. But from just kind of like, I try to find something very similar before I make a video and include torque specs. This is how I've been getting by. Bill, Fritz, I am planning on moving from Arizona to Seattle, Washington in a few weeks. My M235i has 67,000 miles on it. Any recommendations of what to look at / inspect or replace before the move? Gaskets. So your oil filter housing gasket, your valve cover gasket, your oil pan gasket, make sure that those are free of any leaks. If you have the Mickey Mouse flange on your, that's oil. If as far as coolant, if you still have the Mickey Mouse flange on your coolant line, kind of right underneath the oil filter housing gasket, that's something that could go bad. You'll want to replace it for a metal one versus the plastic one. The really thin coolant line from the expansion tank, that could break. Almost everybody, like if you do your own work, at one point in time it breaks. Like mine broke. It just happens. It's plastic. It becomes brittle over time and goes kaput. I would say that. N55. Charge pipe. And if your boost pipe goes, the thing is, like the boost pipe, it could go. Sorry, not the boost pipe, but the turbo inlet pipe, it could go. But because it's so compact in that area, unless you have like an aftermarket air intake, even if it cracks, like it's so tightly bound up in there, like it won't like move. So you'll be fine. But I would say if you've done all the other things that I brought up, then I would say turbo inlet pipe. Other than that, you should be okay. Yeah, I mean, if you have no leaks on the gasket, obviously just proceed forward. 67,000 miles. I would say do a coolant change before you go, just in case. Just do a coolant change and an oil change before you go. And then when you get over there, kind of like once you've settled in, like maybe you like bring everything to like a storage place for a little bit while you're bringing everything in. Once you kind of settle down, do another oil change and then just check your coolant. Your coolant should be fine. Like you don't need to do another flush, but maybe just top it off. Pilar, do you still use Mollygen in your car, or did you go back to the original BMW 530? I still use the Mollygen. I will probably stick to 540 because that's what the BM3 recommend. Well, that's what that's not what they're called. Pro Tuning Freaks recommends, because I use their boot mode stage 2 tune. So that's what they recommend. I would say use the recommended BMW oil spec unless you get a tune. Then you go with whatever the tuners recommend. And then Mollygen is just, I don't know, I think I just bought it from SCP Euros. I just keep buying it. You know what? Let's learn from Elliot and Soul Singer. Sometimes there's a real nasty smell. Check the valve cover gasket. See, like this is a professional here, guys. See, like Who knows what it is? 80,000 miles, it's likely a gasket leak as opposed to a mechanical problem, but that's hard to say without seeing it myself. I mean, don't discount yourself, man. I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm kind of excited. I mean, like, it's fun for me, like, right? Like, I mean, I hopefully will pick up some tips or like some things to learn on like how to diagnose this stuff from just like chat and visual stuff. So, I mean, I like learning stuff too. So it's like having him here, I think is a good thing for all of us. It's a bit above my pay grade. I'm a real noob. Elliot, you'll get there. You'll get there. I mean, I'm learning right now. Oh, can't hear me. Huh. Is that any better? I did what I did last time to fix the audio, so hopefully that works. Soul Slinger Bill, welcome to the Pacific Northwest. I live across from Seattle. I love it here. Oh, okay, right on, Bill. Yeah, you'll definitely want to hook up with Soul Slinger. If you're into boats too. Yeah, well, I should say especially if you're into boats. Like you guys already have a commonality with cars, but if you're in boats, even more so. Soul Singer, thanks for advice. I'll do both things. Okay, right on. Yeah, I hope it helps. Feel free to let me know if whether I'm right or wrong. Let me know. I'd love to follow up and learn from it. Soul Singer, thanks. Can't wait to get back. I've lived there last summer for an internship and loved it. You in Bellevue. Okay, right on. See, yeah, we're building some good community here. Soul Singer, you're the MVP, man. Tell them about the burning oil smell and tell them that you think you have a leak. They will want to do an inspection and should find the cause. Your warranty may. Okay, Bill's okay. Audio's good. Audio's good now. Okay, right on. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably the software because this is last time was the first time that we had any audio issues. So I'm not sure if it's like a software bug or whatever. There were no updates when I was getting ready for the stream today. So if there's an issue again next week, I'll report it. And hopefully by then, there's like a software patch or something, if that's what's causing it. Right on. Soul Singer, so thank you so much, man. I mean, I don't know if I say it enough, but I really appreciate you here. I think you're helping out everybody in the chat. I mean, this is kind of what I really wanted when I started doing these live streams. Car Snob is also another one who comes in pretty much all the time and is like a good resource as well. But yeah, I mean, like this is like the great thing, like build community, help each other out. I couldn't ask for anything more. Bellevue for Japan Fest a couple weeks ago. Got all right on. Bellevue and Japan Fest. Sounds fun. Yeah, thanks, man. I don't know if that's for me, but if it is, thanks. All right. So if there's no more questions, I guess we'll table it for today. Again, if you guys have any concerns, feel free to reach out to me on TikTok or Instagram at RoomTuber. Do not reach out to me on Facebook because my account got hacked yesterday, and I think I am whatever issue got me banned. I got a bunch of like Facebook notifications when I woke up today. So if any chance you see any weird messages from me, like on Facebook or anything like that or whatever, that is not me. And, just ignore it. If, I don't know what I know that a lot of people will like hack somebody's account and like they'll like ask for money or say like you have a giveaway or anything. That is not me. I don't know if that's really what's happening with my account right now. As far as I know, that I tried my best to deactivate and delete the account, but if there was something that went out before I was able to do that, just know. And if you guys see anything like that, just let other people know. So I hope that that's not the case, but I just kind of want to get ahead of it if I can. Anything Facebook related, I don't know. I guess maybe it could be tied to Instagram, but this Instagram is not tied to that Facebook account. So if you see something with like my actual name, like Fritz Ramos, not my handle here, like asking for money, giveaway, things like that, probably the hacker is doing that and it's a scam. I hope that it got like deleted or whatever. I'll still do like my own research to figure it out and see. But I hope not. So don't fall for any of that stuff. Fritz, you're the man bringing us all together. Your channel's, oh, thanks, man. Well, you know, I have people like you, and you know, Elliot's new here. I think Elliot's going to be a regular now. Bill, I hope that all that stuff works out for you, and I wish you the best on your road trip. Congratulations on the move. So I deleted my Facebook in 2020 or 2011. You know, I was thinking about it. I was actually thinking like, should I really do another one? But I think I mostly sell a lot of my stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I actually bought my dad's car on Facebook Marketplace, so I might like just keep it low key. I don't know if I'll go back into the oh no, the BMW pages. I would really appreciate it if any of you guys have like Facebook. If you go into like any of the N55, M235i, 2 Series pages, and if you just put like a thing up there, especially if you see like my profile saying any of the typical scammy type things, let people know my account got hacked and to like block them or kick them out of the account. I really don't want anybody falling for anything like that. I would never do anything like that. So if you guys are in any of those groups, just flag it. I would really appreciate that. I'll try to create another account so I can do that myself. My friend's wife deleted hers because it kept doing it. You would think that two-factor authentication would work to like prevent this type of stuff, but yeah, apparently it didn't. I think I got the notification, and like the first email I opened, I was like, okay, you know, it's not me. And then I kept opening up the other emails, and it was like, oh, we banned your account. I was like, well, like, shouldn't you guys wait to give this other random person access to my account? Like before, like wait until I press the it's me or it's not me button. But yeah, whatever. I have my own thing about like Facebook associated accounts and how they treat their creators, as far as like they make a lot of money from giving the information, and yet they don't properly compensate their creators. That's a whole nother thing for another day though. You know, I really enjoyed today. I loved seeing you, Soul Slinger, taking control of things. Yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really happy with that. I couldn't ask for anything more. So thank you, everybody who came in. Any topic suggestions for the following weeks, you know, shoot me a DM. I hope all of you have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see all of you next week.